What is up, guys? Zan from the Zan Madden YouTube channel, and welcome back. Episode 3 of 2 Passes, 1 Run, Pinch Dog 2 Press Edition. But before we get into the video, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload here on the Zan Madden YouTube channel. If you guys want to watch me play Madden 20 live, you guys can find me on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ZanMadden. The link is below in the description. And I do have exclusive sub-only content for my Tier 1 and Twitch Prime subscribers. My Tier 2 subscribers get my full Washington Redskins Hot Route Master offense on top of those sub tips that go out every single week. Okay, guys, welcome back to 2 Passes, 1 Run. These videos have been very popular so far here on the channel, so I want to make sure that we continue to do them each and every Monday. As you guys know, last Monday, we broke to you guys the pass block abilities on your center and how they improve your whole offensive line. So we did 2 passes, 1 run, cover 4 Palms edition in the middle of last week, but we are going to return to, as normally as we can, having these videos be every single Monday to kick your week off and hopefully rejuvenate your interest in the game by attacking some of the more problematic plays on the defensive side of the ball and give you guys 2 passing concepts and 1 running concept that you guys can use against them. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to go to the concept tab, any playbook. And what I like to do is go over to the deep pass and what we're looking for, or I'm sorry, the play action pass. And what we're going to do is look for boot. And the reason I want to look for boot is that it is more or less going to be a backside deep crosser or backside post route a lot of times in these boot concepts where you get a quarterback and a designed rollout to the wide side of the field. The user has to respond in kind of take away the flooding concept on the wide side, and then you have that back-breaking route across the field. So let's go ahead and do that here. You want to find a play that has a nice little post on the backside. Like if you take a look here, PA boot comeback is a nice option. Every playbook's going to have different boot concepts, but in general, that's the type of play you want to look for, is something with a nice flat post on the backside that's going to get open as you look for your rollout. So let's go ahead and choose the play PA boot comeback. And first and foremost, let's talk about the defense itself. The pinch dog 2 press. This is found in the 3-4 odd formation. It's a very, very popular defense. The way players like to set it up is they like to basically pinch, or they're going to have to base a line if there's a slot receiver to get this linebacker in. So they'll base a line if that's the case. And then they're going to basically press entire defense. So, or pinch entire defense. And they do that by hitting left bumper and then down on the left stick. That's L1 and down on the left stick on PlayStation. That's basically going to press your coverage and pinch your D-line and pinch your linebackers at the same time. The last step for this defense is they're going to QB contain. A lot of players will QB contain, and they just run this as a little 5-man rush. Sometimes they'll blitz, they'll blitz the linebacker that they're not using to make it a 6-man rush. But in general, this is the coverage you more often than not face. And what they do is they hover. They hover right here in this gap. Now, for the sake of this video, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to do this. But what it is for is to stop stretch runs, because what ends up happening is the way that the stretch run works, they will not block the user, and he'll just kind of hover there and then fly in through this gap right here once the ball is snapped. So they go from here hovering, and then they just kind of, sift their way through and come through and tackle you in the backfield for a loss. So you've really got to have a good passing game against this. You can't really heavily rely on the stretch, or so you think. We might get to that a little bit later in the video to attack this defense. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a very simple concept that you can use here. We're going to talk more or less about your soft squat zone. So soft squat zones are going to be zones that match a vertical route to an outside receiver. So if I were to go ahead and put my outside receiver B on a streak right here, so long as I don't have a route that attacks the flat, he will play man-to-man coverage. So you'll see how the B receiver gets matched man-to-man the entire way down the field. Now, that is why the boot concept is so good, is that the backside crosser is really what you're looking for, because in this cover 2 defense, unlike a regular Tampa 2, you do not have a mid-read zone that occupies the deep middle area of the field in between the safety. So as we go ahead and set this up again here, base align, pinch defense, QB contain, and hover in the strong side A gap. That is what we're going to be looking to do here, because you're going to have a way to hit the area between the safeties. That's why I talk about flat posts. So what we're going to be doing here is using the flat post on the back side, because we don't have that mid-read zone. They are using the strong side of the play, so the tight end side of the play, which means that they would have to get really aggressive to the backside with their user if they wanted to take away this post. That's why I find the boot concept in general, if you're looking for routes that can attack this, you want that backside route where they're not going to be usering. So that's why I chose this as my first concept. It's very, very simple. Now, if you want to manipulate a vertical hook, what I love to do is I like to put a hitch route in a slot receiver position if you have twins with your boot action, because what that does is a hitch will draw the vertical hook. So if you take a look at the play art here, you have that left linebacker and that left vertical hook. He is going to be kind of attracted, or at least split the difference between the post and the hitch, which is really going to open up that backside route. So as we go ahead and do this here, I'll go ahead and just kind of set up, just whatever. We'll run a drag or whatever here. It really truthfully doesn't matter what you run. I'll just go ahead and put him on a delay fade to the tight end spot. You'll kind of see what I mean here. Now, the other thing to kind of pay attention to is obviously soft squats will try to play man-to-man, but they will not match that post over the middle here in this example. So you saw that backside post really splits the safeties. That's far better than trying to throw that same post against the Tampa 2 defense, and I'll show that to you here in this example. So you see right here how this post, it's matched, and then once it breaks over the middle, the soft squat doesn't follow it here in this example. So you're able to really split those safeties to the backside. So you see where the user has to be. That user that's in the strong side A gap that I'm not using on this play, his responsibility is really going to have to be to get super far back into this area of the field. Now, if they're going to drop that far back into this area of the field, that's why I like the tight end delay fade, because let's say that they do that. So I'll set that up here in this example. Again, you're going to find whatever boot concept works best for you. This is a single back doubles variation, but in general, the backside post is what you're looking for to attack this defense. So we have this set up here. Now let's simulate user on the backside receiver. So I'm going to put this player that I normally would user here into man coverage on the X receiver. That is why I love to have a tight end delay fade on this concept, because what you're going to do is not only be able to block the 5-man pressure, because you're basically blocking 7 until you leak the tight end out on this play, but you also can leak him out if you notice the middle of the field being wide open. So you see right here how this works. Middle's open. You leak him on the route, throw the little check down. Now we got a bullet pass inaccurate. Don't worry about that. You saw how he was just open. That's what you're looking for on this play. You've got a tight end that's going to help seal the edge, and then they vacate their area of the field because they have to use that strong side gap. If you run a stretch to the outside, they have to make a user tackle on their own with that. So with this defense, you can just expect whatever side is strength in terms of running strength, that is where they're going to use her and hover. So that is why I like this concept in general. This backside boot, use a little hitch underneath. That's going to help you out. Now, the other thing that's really awesome about this is some players will, and we're going to put the ball in a hash for this example, some players will user a safety in this play. I don't know why. Sometimes they do. It's just very, very weird. So if you catch them running with a safety here, so you do the setup, they're going to make sure that their soft squad is out here playing man-to-man. They're going to user this safety. And a lot of players will do this. They'll just kind of do a little hover thing right here, and they'll run this like so. There's a couple of variations of the way people will run this. But what you could do with this is use that tight end delay route to the flat to manipulate the soft squat zone. So you could do the same thing here with the same setup. Instead of a tight end delay fade, you could actually cause the soft squat zone to stop covering the streak to the B receiver, or the fade to the B receiver, by putting a delay flat out there. And because he's a flat threat, soft squat zones will only guard their man-to-man until there's a flat threat out there, and then they'll drop him off to the safety help. Well, if they're using the safety on the side of the tight end, you could go ahead and just go delay flat. Your protection will need to hold up. You're going to see he's just going to drop him off and then bombs away over the top. We threw another inaccurate there, but don't worry about it. So that's a way that you can manipulate the soft squat zones and also manipulate the backside vertical hook and put your opponent's user, depending on whether it's a safety or a middle linebacker, in a bind. And that's why I personally like the identifier ability in this game. Knowing who they're using is so crucial to manipulating the other zones around their user. And a lot of players just don't use identifier. It's free information that you can use if you pick up on tendencies. Okay, when they call 3-4 odd, they love pinch dog 2. When they call big dime 1-4-6, they're actually running cover 4, but they're bluffing the DB sting 2 buzz. Like there's a lot of things that you can gather tendency wise by just seeing who they're using and then knowing what play they're in. So that is one concept you could use, all built into the same thing, kind of all baked into the same idea. Now we're going to go back to the play call menu, and we're going to choose something else that's really simple. Knowing that your opponent is running soft squats on the outside, out of any type of cover 2 blitz, much less pinch dog 2, if they're going to be playing the outside receivers vertically, just have a man beater on the outside. So, we can do something very, very simple. So if you go to, passing concepts, just go to comeback. Go to comeback and choose a random comeback route or hot route a comeback route on a play. Super simple. So let's say here in this example, we go ahead and call halfback angle, right? They're going to set up their play, base a line because there's a slot receiver, pinch their defense, contain, yada, yada, right? And, most players won't actually call this against a shotgun set, but, we'll work with it here. So what you do here now, obviously, is you're just going to let that comeback route work against the guy who's going to match it man to man. So, you could go ahead and run. This is actually a great cover two beating play, this halfback angle. It's a Texas concept with a comeback route built in. You've got so many things that you could do to beat cover two here on this play. You're going to stretch vertically with the tight end down the seam. In fact, that tight end route, we just broke that exact route down over the weekend out of the far tight slot. So, there's a lot that we've taught here in this video. But let's go ahead and just kind of show, provided that our pass protection holds up here, you're going to be able to see that, hit this comeback route right at the stem of their route. And that wasn't the best comeback route. That actually hung up and stopped. There are comeback routes that stop in this game, and there are comeback routes that actually come back. So just make sure you're using the right one. But you saw right there, just from a simple standpoint of beating a soft squat zone, we're going to actually get beat here. The pass rush is getting to us. But those comeback routes that you could hot route will actually work because they're just man beaters in general. So you kind of see right here, we're actually getting like nano detected and whatnot. But you kind of see right here, if you got a little bit of route running, you're going to be able to run that route and beat man to man. I'm not even sure who this is, Foster on the outside, but you could do the same thing with, a comeback route to Brown as well. So if I were to do this, watch Brown here, he's going to get matched man to man, and then boom, at the top of the route, he runs the comeback route. Right there, the game kind of cheated, but man coverage in general does not really do a great job on the outside of stopping comeback routes. If you have any type of deep route running, you're going to be able to consistently win on the outside. So you see right here, that there's a really good example right there. So comeback routes on the outside do a great job against soft squats. And if you're facing someone that likes to get cute and mix in quarter zones on the outside as well, you'll face players that will occasionally do that. It's the same concept. I mean, you could just run comeback routes and you should be just fine. I'm watching these guys get in every rip here against this. But comeback routes will work against soft squats. They'll also work against, outside quarters as well. And those are two pretty popular adjustments that players use no matter what coverage shell they're in. So, don't overcomplicate the game when you're facing these defenses. A lot of players tend to get overwhelmed. They try to, overdo things, money play setups. Sometimes just simple concepts move the ball against, some of these blitzes. Knowing what they're in is half the battle. And then the other half is being able to reference and remember the encyclopedia of route combinations that you have at your disposal to attack a given coverage. We talked about this play in general, halfback angle, Texas concept. That could be a third concept. We got comebacks built in here, but Texas concepts are great because cover two gets really soft. You can throw these little ankle routes underneath against cover two. Ankle routes are designed to kill cover two, much less a cover two that doesn't even have a mid read. So if we were to show a regular Tampa two here, you can still hit this Texas combination very easily. I mean, just pop right underneath. Super easy throw. So Texas concept built in on that play. So you never know what you have. I mean, look at the concepts in your playbook. So many players get wrapped up in like, this is my scheme. I run this formation. I do this setup against this. Mixing in, a concept every now and then just to attack something can keep your opponent off balance. If that gets you one more first down a game, don't necessarily think about it as a first down. Think about it as time of possession. When the ball's in your possession, they can't score. So that's very, very simple. All right, guys, so that's two passing concepts, kind of three if you think about it. Let's go ahead and go to the one run. Now, this defense in general is designed to stop the stretch. So I want to kind of show that to you here. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and see if we get a stretch here. Go to concepts, runs, outside zone. They've only got 3 stretches in the entire Bills playbook. Can you believe that? Okay, so let's go ahead and show you one here. So pinch the defense and contain. Now what they do, and I'm not very good at this, but this is what players will do, is they will hover in this gap, and then what ends up happening is that ball gets snapped, and then they kind of you saw that there was a hole right there, and they leak in through that hole. Because I don't run the 3-4 odd, this is not something I've mastered personally, but this is the strategy that they use. They kind of just hover, they hold the left trigger, the ball gets snapped, and then boom, they hit the backfield just like that. So this is why it's such a great stretch defense. Now, the premise of this is they want to user the strong side. So if you know where the user is, they can't do this to the other side. So you see here, I mean, I'm not very good at this. And this is in general a pretty solid stretch defense because the soft squat comes off the edge. But if you know where they're hovering, if they're hovering in the strong side gap, why wouldn't you just simply run the stretch to the other gap? Now, of course, there's potential for that edge set to get there. But you see how you got, no user in the backfield. You got basically one guy that you got to make miss. You got to make that vertical hook defender miss. So you can run stretches so long as you got a tight end on each side, because then they can't just user the side with the tight end and expect that, they can stop that. So that's kind of a cheap way of telling you, oh, hey, just run stretch. Like, of course, everyone knows the stretch is the best run in the game. Now, there are other runs that you can run in the game. Pinch dog 2 press is a very, very tough run defense to run ISOs against, especially single back ISOs or dives in general. So if I were to like show you here, like for instance, let me go to Deuce, and I know that they've got a regular halfback dive in this. The reason pinch dog and pinch defenses in general, I have one in 3-4 bear that I run. The reason that they're so good is like a lot of times they don't block the D end. The D end just comes in untouched a lot of times on this. You see how he kind of gets blocked down into that area I want to run the dive to. Now, if they have somebody that's a lot, more athletic than that D end, that's a little bit larger, that just got kind of shoved into the area I wanted to run to, that turns into a tackle for loss. That's why this is such a great defense. I mean, you see how he just kind of gets shoved there and then there's nowhere to run into? That's why it's really tough, right? So you have to kind of search your playbook and change from more of a dive and zone scheme to more of a like a power type of scheme. And that can be rather tough as well. Just in general, the run defenses are getting better later in the year. This is one of the tougher run defenses in the game. I'm not going to lie to you. So you could go in and try to find yourself like a power type of scheme here. Let me see. There's power. In general, you got the pulling guard types of powers where you have like a power O. You see right there, then the same formation, I form tight. They've got a regular power O with a backside pulling guard. And then they got 26 duo, which is essentially it's a power scheme with no pulling guard. So that's available to you. Power G is an option that you can run. Let's go ahead and set a couple audibles and try to show a couple of those runs to you. Now, of course, like I said, I say this every single time we do these videos. There's no run in the game that is perfect. Absolutely no run in the game that is perfect. But in general, if you can try to throw some different blocking schemes at these run defenses, not especially ones that are really user heavy, knowing where the gap is. If they're expecting, a zone run, they know where the hole opens up in the zone blocking scheme. Where if you play assignment based man-to-man gap, blocking, where not gap blocking, but just man-to-man blocking, where you're having pulling linemen that are assigned to kick out, and you have guys that are down blocking on specific targets, that can change things for how defenses work. So we'll kind of show you here. Here's like a power O. You see the way that this defense is going to be run here. You run the power O, you're going to get Spain pulling out in front of this. So what your goal is here, this is not an outside run. This is actually designed to hit inside. So you want to stay inside of DeMarco and Spain pulling and try to use them as lead blockers. So you see how that ends up opening up for you, and there's some lanes there to be run. Now, of course, Frank Gore is a little bit aged at this point, but you can see how the power O does impact this run defense a little bit differently than a stretch scheme would. So a lot of players are out there like, oh, you can't run against pinch dog 2. As long as you know how the run is going to be blocked, you could actually run it pretty well against the pinch dog 2. So power O is a really good run that you can run against this. Now, another one I mentioned was power G. So let's go ahead and show you power G as well. I think that this is one that, is a little bit tougher. This is a front side pulling guard play against a strong side user. So I'm not as big a fan of this one, but if you catch them off guard and they don't know how to shoot the gap on this, you can actually get pretty good success out of this. You see how you get that alley? And actually, I would have bounced outside of DeMarco's block right there and hit that hard to the outside. But you see how this kind of jumbles up and blocks this pinch dog defense. A lot of these pinch defenses are great against zone blocking schemes, but they're not so great against your power schemes. I mean, you see how this set up pulling guard blocks, out on this corner. It's going to take him out. Now you've got DeMarco. And had that vertical hook on the backside, number 54, Williamson, not gotten there, you see that basically DeMarco is one-on-one with eyes on, not necessarily 54, but with eyes on this guy, the last guy of defense that can make the play here, the safety on this play. So, power G, if mixed in, can catch somebody off guard. Definitely can. So we'll go ahead and run that one more time. Go ahead and audible into I form wing, power G. So kind of show this here for you. And again, I'm not able to use her too well on this, but you see here, we're going to stay. See, blocks right there didn't set up great for us. But again, a lot of times that user, that the player that made the tackle there was Mosley. That's where the user is. You know, they typically are going to just kind of hover in that gap. And typically speaking, against the power G, they're not going to play perfectly. The computer right there knew where to go, but a user is expecting on a stretch to kind of hover in the gap and wait for the hole to open up and then explode. And you know, if they're not doing that, you're going to be able to, you know, kind of hit that run. I mean, you see right there, that's perfect. That's what you're looking for right there out of this run. And that could be a house call for you. So 2 runs, 1 pass, pinch dog, 2 press, coming up on about 21 minutes, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. You got to keep it simple. Really got to keep it simple. Know what you're dealing with. Go to your concepts tab, find the route. Don't necessarily think about formations that attack certain formations. Think about concepts. You know, even the best players sometimes have to mix in, you know, a one-off play in their playbook. You see it all the time. You know, you attribute certain pro players with knowing, you know, trips tight end or bunch, but then randomly when the, you know, the heat of battle comes and they have to go to something, you'll go to a formation. You'll see them go to a formation. And they'll call something that you didn't expect. And that's what you guys need to do as well. You need to know concepts that attack certain things, and that's what the goal of this series is. So if you guys like the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. As always, guys, please tell me what you want to see in next week's edition of 2 Passes, 1 Run. I really enjoy doing these series because they allow me to teach more conceptual football than necessarily like Madden, not necessarily like glitches, but you know, just what I'm talking about. Like it's more or less about teaching concepts to you guys, helping you learn the game of football a little bit more, and applying that knowledge to Madden to help your Madden game as well. Of course, Madden and real life football are not a one-to-one simulation, but there are concepts that carry over year, and I think that's why you know, over the years you learn things and you carry them over from game to game. You can stay pretty consistent from one year to another. So let me know what you guys thought. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with our next upload. Until then, this is Ian. Get in the lab, and good luck.